In the early morning hours, Israel launched a complex operation against Iran, codenamed Days of Repentance. Over 80 aircraft, including advanced F-35 fighter jets, took flight, carefully navigating through the airspace of neighboring countries. Their mission: a three-wave attack on Iran's military infrastructure. The first wave focused on crippling Iran's air defenses. They targeted radar installations and command centers, aiming to blind Iran's ability to detect and respond to the incoming attack. The second wave zeroed in on Iran's missile capabilities. Ballistic and hypersonic missile bases were hit, preventing Iran from launching counterattacks. Finally, the third wave aimed to disrupt Iran's military production and logistics. Key barracks, manufacturing facilities, and command centers were struck. To avoid heavy losses, Israel relied on advanced weaponry like the ROX missile. This allowed them to hit targets from a distance without flying deep into Iranian territory. Surprisingly, Iran's Bavar 373 air defense system managed to intercept some of the attacks. This includes sabotage, cyber attacks, and a series of carefully planned airstrikes against Iranian military targets, each designed to cripple Iran's capabilities without provoking an all-out war. These strikes are not isolated incidents. They are part of a broader Israeli military doctrine known as the BRINK doctrine, which has shaped Israel's approach to preemptive defense. Named after former Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, this doctrine advocates for preemptive strikes against potential threats, ensuring that Israel remains one step ahead of its adversaries. In the context of Iran, the BRINK doctrine translates into a policy of actively disrupting and delaying Iran's nuclear program and military capabilities through a combination of direct and indirect actions. Israel believes that by striking early and decisively, it can buy precious time and prevent a catastrophic war in the future, a war that could have devastating consequences for the entire region. This shadow war is fraught with risk, with each operation carrying the potential for unintended consequences and escalation. Each strike carries the potential for escalation, potentially igniting a wider regional conflict that could draw in multiple nations and lead to widespread instability. However, Israel sees these risks as necessary to ensure its survival, believing that the alternative, allowing Iran to develop nuclear weapons, poses a far greater danger. The stakes are simply too high to ignore the growing threat posed by Iran, and Israel is committed to taking whatever actions are necessary to neutralize this threat. In this high-stakes game of cat and mouse, one operation stands out for its scope and ambition: Operation Days of Repentance, a testament to the lengths Israel is willing to go to protect its future. Operation Days of Repentance was not a single event, but a carefully orchestrated campaign of airstrikes carried out by the Israeli Air Force. This operation was a significant military endeavor, involving meticulous planning and coordination at the highest levels of the Israeli military. The exact timeline of the operation remains shrouded in secrecy, but it is believed to have taken place over several weeks, culminating in a series of intense strikes. These strikes were designed to maximize impact while minimizing collateral damage, a challenging balance in any military campaign. The operation's name, with its religious connotations, hinted at the gravity of the situation and the high stakes involved. It evoked a sense of moral duty and divine justice, underscoring the seriousness with which Israel viewed the threat from Iran. It suggested a righteous judgment was being meted out, a punishment for Iran's perceived transgressions. This framing was intended to rally both military personnel and the public around the operation, emphasizing its necessity and just cause. The operation was divided into 3 distinct waves, each targeting a specific element of Iran's military infrastructure. This strategic division allowed for a focused and effective dismantling of Iran's military capabilities. This 3-pronged approach aimed to cripple Iran's ability to respond to Israeli attacks and to degrade its long-term military capabilities. By systematically targeting key components of Iran's military, Israel sought to ensure its own security and stability in the region. The first wave, launched with surgical precision, focused on neutralizing Iran's air defenses. This was a critical first step as it paved the way for the subsequent waves of attacks. The goal was to clear a path for subsequent waves of Israeli aircraft and ensure the success of the entire operation. By eliminating these defenses, Israel could operate with greater freedom and effectiveness. The second wave targeted Iran's ballistic missile program, a cornerstone of its military strategy, and a direct threat to Israel. These missile sites were heavily fortified and required precise targeting to neutralize. These missiles, capable of carrying conventional or nuclear warheads, represented a significant danger in the hands of a regime openly hostile to Israel. The destruction of these sites was crucial to reducing the immediate threat posed by Iran. Israel was determined to set back Iran's missile program and buy itself more time to address the growing threat. This wave of attacks aimed to dismantle the infrastructure supporting Iran's missile capabilities. The third and final wave of Operation Days of Repentance focused on crippling Iran's military industries. This involved a comprehensive assault on the facilities that produced and developed military technology. This involved targeting factories, research facilities, and key infrastructure linked to the production of weapons and military equipment. By disrupting these operations, Israel aimed to hinder Iran's ability to sustain its military efforts. The goal was to disrupt Iran's ability to replenish its arsenal and slow down its military development. This comprehensive approach was designed to ensure long-term security and stability for Israel, reducing the threat from its adversary. The first wave of Operation Days of Repentance was perhaps the most crucial, setting the stage for the entire mission. It targeted the very eyes and ears of Iran's military. Its radar installations, air defense headquarters, and surface-to-air missile sites, which were essential for detecting and responding to threats. These facilities, scattered across Iran, formed a protective web designed to detect and intercept incoming threats, creating a formidable barrier against any aerial assault. Israel knew that to achieve its objectives in subsequent waves, it first had to blind and confuse this network, rendering it ineffective and disoriented. The strikes focused on key locations in Tehran, Elam, and Khuzestan, areas that were pivotal to Iran's defensive strategy. These areas housed critical air defense infrastructure and were strategically important for Iran's overall defense posture, making them prime targets for the initial assault. The attacks were swift and devastating, utilizing a combination of precision-guided munitions and electronic warfare to overwhelm and disable Iranian defenses, ensuring minimal resistance. The element of surprise was crucial, catching the Iranian forces off guard and maximizing the impact of the strikes. Israeli jets, believed to have included advanced F-15 Wayram and F-35E Adir aircraft, struck at night, using a combination of stealth and electronic countermeasures to evade Iranian radar, ensuring they remained undetected. The strikes sent shockwaves through Iran's military establishment, causing confusion and disarray among its ranks. They demonstrated the vulnerability of Iran's air defenses and exposed the limitations of its early warning systems, highlighting significant gaps in their defensive capabilities. The success of the first wave paved the way for the second and third waves of Operation Days of Repentance, allowing Israeli jets to operate with greater freedom and inflict further damage, ultimately achieving their strategic objectives. With Iran's air defenses severely degraded, Israel could focus on the second wave of Operation Days of Repentance, the destruction of its ballistic missile program. These missiles, some with a range capable of reaching Israel, represented a direct and existential threat. Iran had invested heavily in its missile program, seeing it as a way to project power and deter its enemies. Knowing that Iran would disperse and conceal its missiles, Israel employed a multi-pronged approach. It utilized satellite imagery, signals intelligence, and human intelligence to pinpoint the locations of missile launchers, storage facilities, and production sites. These intelligence-gathering efforts were relentless, seeking to uncover the secrets of Iran's missile program and provide actionable targets for Israeli strikes. The attacks focused on both fixed and mobile missile launchers, as well as underground facilities believed to be involved in missile development and production. Israel utilized bunker-busting munitions capable of penetrating deep underground to destroy hardened targets. The strikes were not limited to Iranian soil. Israeli jets also targeted Iranian-backed militias in Syria and Iraq that possessed Iranian-made missiles. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.